Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got another weekly review video where we take a look at my training and I kind of share my thoughts and experiences with you all as far as how training's going leading up to my competitions. In this case, we're kind of just getting into the off season. This is my second week of off-season training, and this is probably one of the more hectic weeks that I will have in my yearly schedule, because I just went back to work. As most of you know, I'm a school teacher. I teach 11th grade earth science mostly. I teach some physics as well and some math. So I get the summer mostly off, and that's very nice for training. I get to basically be a full-time powerlifter for a lot of that time, but that transition back to school time can sometimes be tough because, it's a change of schedule and a transition. So with that, there's a lot of RPE work going on right now between me and my coach, Bill McCarthy, who is kind of the genius behind everything. So for my sets of 8 on the safety bar squat, we moved it up 20 more pounds, 10 more kilos to 495. Everything moved pretty well, felt pretty good. It certainly sets my week up with some fatigue, right? Between that, as you could see, I have sets of pull-ups on that day. And then also for the second week in a row, I forgot to record my RDLs. They were nothing exciting. It was, I believe, 3 sets of 10 with 385 pounds. So still really light there, but getting some volume in with the hamstrings and the low back. This is my first day of benching. This is day 2, and it's a 4x12, supposed to be at 7. I would say I probably overshot this a little bit, mostly because fatigue creeps in and it kind of, the RPE can get up there fast. So as you can see, the reps still move quickly, but the fatigue was setting in. So it was getting tough. And by the end of the week, I definitely had some shoulder fatigue start to set in. And I'll talk about that more whenever we get to some of my later bench presses here. But basically my week was messed up. Usually these sets that you're about to see are supposed to be day 4, which is Saturday, but we were originally planning on going to see some friends of mine over the weekend in Philadelphia, which involves some travel. So I was trying to basically move my heaviest day up to Thursday so that I had the day break between, and then I was going to try and cram all of the volume in on that session and then maybe do a little bit on Friday. Now, halfway through this session, I got a call from Natalie, my girlfriend. Basically, she was under the weather. She tested, and unfortunately, she was positive for COVID. Now, I tested myself. I'm totally fine. I still don't have it, which is interesting because we live together, but I'm in the clear. Just want to throw that out there. And she is doing well, but because of that call, I knew in the moment that we weren't going to be able to go anywhere over the weekend, and I also headed home from the gym, so I ended up kind of not doing the extra volume that I was planning on doing during this session, and just playing it by ear and making it up on Saturday. So really that threw my schedule around a bit, but this is a great example of how you have to make adjustments deep in the off season. Is if there's a time to be thrown off on your schedule, this is the time for it, right? I would not be doing shenanigans like this close to a competition by any means, but I'm making it work. I'm getting all of the work done. So as you saw, 3 sets of 5 with 585 on squat moved really well. I did have to back things off on bench because my shoulder's just feeling beat up from the volume. It's not used to the work capacity. So that is an adjustment I'm going to have to make. And deadlifts that day moved really well. Now, whenever I came back in on Saturday, my shoulder was still just feeling achy, you know, nothing injured, but achy for sure. So I threw in here, these are some of the warm-ups that I did to really get the blood going in my shoulder before I finished my bench work for the week. Basically, internal and external rotations to kind of warm up that shoulder area and the rotator cuff. I did do this on both sides, and I did 3 sets of like 10 to 15. I don't really count the reps, but I do it until I can feel the blood going to the area. So I did 3 rounds of this, and then followed by 3 rounds of my traditional shoulder warm-up exercises that I do for bench. As you can see here, if you want more insight on these warm-ups, I have a separate video on my channel on how I specifically warm up for the bench, so check that out. It gives more explanation, but I really felt like I needed to take some extra time. I probably took a half an hour or so just to get moving before I started benching on this final day of the week, because it's specifically my left rotator cuff that is just feeling achy, you know, and going through the bench press movement can be hard on that. So as you will see after I finish these warm-ups, like I said, 3 rounds of sets of 10 to 12 on each of these. I did bump up my single from last week. Last week we hit 395 for the set of 1. This week I hit 405, and the speed was at 7 like it's supposed to be. A little bit of soreness in my shoulder, but I knew I was completely safe, and I was actually feeling better on this day, Saturday, than I was on Thursday whenever I had to cut things short. So no problem at all. I'm not too concerned. I just need to play it smart on bench, and that's exactly what I did for the back offs for the 3x8. I really lowered the weight down to 275 so that I can get that volume in and go through the range of motion and, you know, tear down some muscle, but not aggravate my shoulder. And that was the whole plan here, right? Still get it done, but know when to back off. And that's really been a learning process of mine. Younger and dumber me probably would have kept pushing it hard, and maybe that leads to a shoulder injury that's a much bigger setback. So we'll kind of round off the week. Here were my sets of 8 with 455 on the hex bar. Once again, taking it really slow on deadlift, just because between school, we had back to school night late on Wednesday, ended up being like a 12+ hour day, and then training at night again after work. All of that, there's no reason to really push something crazy on deadlifts and end up hurting myself. So overall, I'm feeling good. I'm glad to be back. Next week should be a much more normal week as the students get back to school. So thank you all for following along. Please like and subscribe as always, and until next time, happy lifting.